What is up, y'all? Your Vols ATB crew minus low back here after a little week-long break. Um, Obviously, news-wise, probably one of the most chaotic, wild football news, basketball news, all around Vols news, just absolutely bonkers. Obviously, hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving with their family. I guess the first thing to go ahead and jump into, um, obviously tonight, Tennessee getting the dub over McNeese State. But let's talk about, the 3-day performance by the BasketVols going into the battle for Atlantis, coming out the champions, knocking off number 3 Kansas, last year's national champs. Huge game for that. And then to come in tonight with no real hangover effect. Vols get it done over McNeese, not McNeese State anymore, just McNeese. Obviously, almost one of the biggest and best defensive performances of all time by the Vols. Came up short of that, but let's just be honest, man. This defense with Kansas and now McNeese State, number one, I think this is easily the best defense in the country, and it's crazy to think about what Tennessee is going to do with the BasketVols this season.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, this defense is absolutely suffocating. One of the craziest stats I've seen that when we defeated Kansas back last Friday, that is the least amount of points that Kansas has scored since 2014. Which is,
Christ.
I mean, it's just insane. I mean, and the crazy thing about this too is that, guys, we're playing this well at high level without Triple J too, and I would argue that he's one of the top 3 best defensive players that we have as well. And he's easily the best offensive player that we have on this team for sure. So to have him back, hopefully by the time the SEC play starts, it will be huge. But the fact of the matter is that, like, even without him, we're still find a way to pull off wins. And I mean, forcing 20, 25, almost 30 turnovers a game. So this is the best defense Rick Barnes has ever had easily during his entire time at Tennessee. And man, this team is only going to get better. It's going to be a fun basketball season this year.
Hey, not only is the defense looking good, but some of our freshmen are looking good too. It was nice to see William Phillips start to come into his own against USC. Had like a little 28 and 8 rebound game, and then he's followed that up with solid performances, like you said, against Kansas. And then tonight, maybe not so much. I didn't really get to see the box score, but I mean, it's McNeese, and we still won by 36. So not that big of a deal. But like you said, Rick Barnes is known for his defenses. Maybe not out on the perimeter, but right now it's holding up. And the boys look good. And honestly, that Colorado loss kind of stings even more now because if we would have kept that in check, we'd easily probably be top 5 team now. But it happens. We'll learn from it and move on. And obviously, they did learn from it. But like you said, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, man, that Colorado team, that definitely still stings. But they're out there losing to teams they should be beating and beating teams they should be losing to. Like, I think they have 2 SEC wins under their belt now. Like you mentioned, obviously Julian Phillips coming alive. The new 5-star, he's finally, erupted. And then today, I know the Knox Catholic people will be happy. BJ Edwards got him some minutes there late at the point rotation. And, y'all talked about it. It's coming from all around with this team. You're kind of seeing guys buy in, with Triple J out. Mayshak has become a force to be reckoned with, falling into the Rick Barnes system of being that down low guy and, finally bringing some, some life to the down low offense on the Tennessee side, being able to go to the basket. That was huge. Wes Rucker tweeting out, Tennessee's still number 1 nationally in adjusted defense efficiency, has the most plays under this season without its best defender. And that is absolutely just insane. A Rick Barnes defense, arguably the best. We've seen a lot of really good defenses here at Tennessee under Barnes. This one is suffocating. And, with 5 games to play until the, SEC interconference schedule, if they could even match that or halfway match that in SEC play offensively, it's just going to be, suffocation for teams. And I'm kind of biting at the bit to get to that SEC play because like a lot of losses last year kind of sting to me with all the COVID stuff. Like, that Bama game, we went to Bama and lost, without Kennedy Chandler and everybody. I'm just waiting to get back into it. But man, Drew, like the basketball is kind of, dipped into the basketball hype, or football has dipped into the basketball hype. And to see like the boys coming out so strong after that loss that I had to witness in Nashville, Tennessee against Colorado, it's been night and day.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that, honestly, that loss to Colorado was a blessing in disguise because I think it's one of those things that where our players are finally decided, like, they can't take every game for granted and they have to take everyone just as serious as the next. One of the things that surprises me about this team, guys, is that, like, even going back to the Kansas game, I mean, we played horrible offensively. I think we wound up having nearly 20 turnovers in that game, and we still nearly won by 15. I mean, like you said, like if this team can match the same intensity, like half of it on offense starting conference play, guys, I mean, this team is going to be, a number one seed in the tournament. I mean, like this is the best defense in the country, and they're only going to get better when Triple J gets back. So really exciting times for his basketball team. They continue to prove every single game. Julian Phillips looks great, like Alex mentioned. And once, December rolls around, he's only going to get better. I'm really excited about next Sunday when we play against Maryland. That's going to be a really, really challenging game for these guys. Very undefeated team. They're top 25 in Brooklyn as well. And I think that'll be another great test for this basketball team. And, man, if they can be able to pull that off, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if Tennessee winds up being a top 5 team heading into Arizona.
Hey, I also think another big thing going forward for us is, like we've a couple of times in recent years, is the center production. Looks like he's starting to solidify his spot in the rotation. Looks like he's deserving more minutes. I think he ended up with 5 blocks tonight, 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
Super solid. We just need more production out of that spot. And Kamwa still looks like he's kind of coming back from injury, but he still looks pretty good. And then we got Drew's boy Euros, still trying to find his way. But again, if we can get any kind of help on the side, I'm just saying.
He's been finding his way for almost 5 years now.
Hey, he's been lost, but hopefully he's found this year.
Hey, I'm just glad. I'm glad that Euros is back and that we aren't kind of struggling at that down low presence, because at Colorado the energy in the stands was like, oh my God, that's a high ankle sprain. He rolled his ankle. Mm-hmm. Is he gonna need this tightrope surgery too, or will he be out 4 to 6 weeks, however long? To see him back in the game, back in the rhythm, a few games later was really important to me. And then you really know what you're going to get out of him, but you do get those flashes like Gonzaga in the preseason, going off in that game. Like if he does show up in those games, if we're playing like we are now, when, he's still trying to find his way and he does become a presence down low, like him and I do in SEC play is going to be, something that, from the outside looking in, you wouldn't be scared of, but they're going to be down there, getting boards. And I think that's what's got to kind of get Tennessee so good offensively. We touched on it last year. How good will this defense make our offense, And today, I think McNeese was shooting like 0 for 15 or something from 3 at one point in the first half with 9 turnovers. Like, that's what's going to be key going into conference play.
Oh, yeah. And also, we got to remember as well, McNeese or McNeese State or whatever the hell they're called now. They're one of the worst teams offensively in the country. I think they average less than 50 points a game. So, it's great that we held them down to 40, and it's great that we were able to cover, but we do need to remind ourselves this is a very, very bad basketball team. But still a great win regardless of the Vols.
Yes, I was going to say, even still, holding somebody to 14 points in one half of basketball, you scoring less than a point.
Yeah.
Come on, dog. You get 2 for every shot you put in. Okay? So, just think about that for a second. It's still good all-around effort, like you said. One of those tune-up games, get you ready for what's coming up. Like you said, Maryland on the horizon. So, nice little dub. Keep the streak going. I saw something that we haven't lost. We haven't lost a home game to an unranked team since, 2019?
Yeah, it was when we lost to Wisconsin by 20. Yeah. I remember that game. It was awful.
Super nice. Got to keep that rolling. And they were talking about home environment in Thompson-Boling. They made a good point. Back in the day, it wasn't long ago, back in 2014, 15, maybe a little bit earlier than that, when people would come to Thompson-Boling, I'd be like, dang, this arena is way too big. This is too big for us. But now it's like, hey, can we fit more people in here? We need to make this shit loud. But no, it's been great environment, and it's a good carryover from football season now to have that same environment in Neyland head into Thompson-Boling.
No, yeah, I agree for sure, man. Thompson-Boling, I wouldn't get to a game out there this year. Going to Nashville, obviously, the crowd was kind of half dead after that Missouri game. Everyone coming from Nashville to Nashville, everyone, being there at their first game in Nashville. Not the best experience until late in the second half when the referee play and everything got in there. But man, I feel like come, Kentucky or even the first SEC games, when conference play does hit, that vibe has just been there for all the sports, baseball, basketball, football. When the SEC play hits, we're going to be there and we're going to show out. So obviously TBA in itself is just going to be rocking if this team can keep it up. I know in Ken Palm's ratings, this team is, I think, definitely top 5 already. And that's probably a realistic place that they should be if they didn't have the loss. But yeah, you take care of a teams like Maryland and go into conference play, you're going to be a top 5, top 10 team in the country. And I think that's kind of the best case scenario for this team right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, and they're going to have plenty of challenges this month as well with Maryland, on a neutral site and, playing at Arizona too the weekend after. So, I mean, there's a lot of good early tests for these teams or for Tennessee. And, it's going to be some good challenges right before SEC play starts. So I'm excited. I mean, this is the type of, these are the non-conference games that we always look forward to. And then, not to mention as well, we'll potentially play a number 1 Texas team at the end of January too. So a lot of good games, a lot of good challenges, and I mean, it's only going to get this. We're only going to get better.
Oh yeah, that's another game that I need Rick Barnes to get his lick back. Not just the Bama game, but definitely that Texas game because they didn't even really honor him like that last year, right? And just did him dirty. Like that was just he needs to get that W. Obviously, basketball is rolling, beating number 3 Kansas, a big non-hangover win today. A lot to expect from that team as they play Maryland and conference games. I guess the real thing to kind of go ahead and talk about, we haven't covered in 2 weeks, being gone last week. The Tennessee Volunteers football team, man, finished 10-2 on the season, first time since 2003. Went into Vanderbilt in the Commodore Stadium, getting the dub 56-0. A lot of questions were needing to be answered in that game. Obviously, Hendon Hooker's injury going down in South Carolina. The Thrones was handed over to Joe Milton. We kind of got the glimpse of what to expect going into the 2023 year after our bowl game, pending where we go. And I guess all in all, we can all agree that this offense, no matter who's kind of running it, they're going to go out there and score points. They're going to go out there and get the job done. Obviously, our running backs, their best game of the season by far. Joe, some improvements everywhere around. Not, he is what he is at this point. Got to wonder how ready Nico will be. Taven Jackson coming back from injury. Does Tennessee kind of want to dip and look into the transfer portal? They're going to figure that out in the next few weeks. But, man, Tim Banks and our defense responding after that South Carolina game, giving up 63 points against Vanderbilt, who came off a Kentucky and Florida win, gave up 0 points. Obviously had to go out there and make a statement for not only his job, but his, as a coach and for his boys in their last game of the season. To go out there and give up 0 points against a quarterback that's not bad in Mike, right? Like this team has went out there and won football games and SEC games this year. Holding them to 0. What was y'all's kind of biggest takeaway, finishing 10-2 as a whole, this win in particular?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great bounce back win. This overall was a fantastic and unbelievable season, but we got our just the wind taken out of our sails after that South Carolina game. But just in hindsight, though, I mean, the fact that we finished 10-2, most wins we've had in a regular season, nearly 20 years, as Brando said, since 2003, and you're looking at potentially Tennessee playing in a New Year's Six/BCS bowl for the first time since 2000. I mean, it's an unbelievable season. It's an unbelievable year, too, for Heupel, for sure. I kind of, that's the thing, about Joe Milton is that I felt like I saw a lot of improvement with the guy over, compared to, last season for sure. But, man, when you really think about him going into spring practice where it's going to be between him and Nico, I mean, no disrespect towards Taven Jackson, but, I think he's going to be better off just heading into the portal and getting a better opportunity elsewhere. And I don't think it would hurt Tennessee at all maybe if they added 1 quarterback from the portal as well. So a lot of questions are going to be have to be answered. And I have more than enough faith in Heupel and the staff to be able to get the answers. But, man, overall, great win. Our rushing game was unbelievable. Jalen Wright had 5 carries for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns, the most absurd thing I've ever seen. I mean, just great win. It's always great kicking the shit out of Vanderbilt. So.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing is this – I wouldn't even classify that as a win. I mean, it was just something else. It was way beyond that. Anytime I watch a football game, you kind of just always expect the other team to score. But when you shut out a team for 60 minutes, don't even score in their home field, I mean, that's just embarrassing. That's just absolutely embarrassing. And it's good to always put little brother in their place. Y'all have been talking about Milton, but really, it doesn't matter who lines up at quarterback if you have 3 different running backs that can reel off 50-plus yard touchdowns. The offensive line played great, created holes. I think they were only getting arm tackles at the line, and then after that they were gone. I mean, it was just nothing but green grass ahead of them. So it don't matter who's under center as long as they can just hand it off to them and get them the ball. But Milton has looked a little bit better. Again, I think he just still needs more game reps because he doesn't get quality game reps. I mean, he's kind of cleaning it up in garbage time, so hopefully more consistent playing time will help him out. I don't know. Fingers crossed still. But, I mean, yeah, we murdered Vandy. And then on the season as a whole, I mean, it's bittersweet. You know, it's like if we took care of South Carolina, then we would have been in a great position now. It didn't happen, but then there's the whole opposite side where, like you said, 10-2, first time since 03, first time for a New Year's Six Bowl since 2000. Beat at least mine, Drew, and Lowe's expectations. Brando had us at 10-2, but I mean,
Yes,
it's right there. Like, it's good and bad, but I mean, all in all, there's nothing to complain about this season.
You got to know about the health of a program when you can kind of look at it at an optimistic, pessimistic, realistic view, and like be able to look at it from all viewpoints and be like, okay, we went 10-2 for the first time since 2003. Damn, we fell on our face and sold the college football playoff bag. You know, we saw what they did to us this week. We'll get into that in a little bit. But, you know, we had a chance to control our own destiny, fucked it up, and lost to Spencer Rattler and Shane Beamer. But on, you know, the realistic side, I mean, hey, like, yeah, we fell on our face flat, but we didn't go out there and lose to some nobody. Like, they went out there the next week and took care of business against Clemson and beat them. Like, and they fell flat on their face to start the game. So if they played a full game against, you know, Clemson like they did against us, they're probably blowing them out too, you know, by 2 or more touchdowns. Yeah. And all in all, man, you know, 10-2, you know, the running back room, that's the one thing I came away from. Not only, you know, Jabari Small and Jalen Wright and, you know, Dylan Sampson, all three of those guys finding the end zone. Dylan Sampson doing it in, you know, exciting fashion. Obviously, Jalen Wright, 2 touchdowns for him. You know, getting the news today with the Vols Transfer Portal news, you know, obviously you lost Jimmy Callaway and Jimmy Holiday, 2 receivers and kick returners there. You also lost 2 running backs and, you know, Justin Williams-Thomas and Laneith Whitehead, who decided to transfer from Tennessee. But, you know, you look at those big 3 from this past Saturday and you kind of, you know, take away what Tennessee is able to do this year compared to last year when they didn't have, you know, sanctions in the transfer portal. When if they go out there and find another back that can match the speed of the 3 we have now still in the room and what just happened to Vanderbilt, man, like that's going to take so much stress off of Joe if he is the quarterback next year. And I think, you know, adding that, you know, we'll just kind of go with Heupel's plan of how he's always dished it out to running backs, like having 4 in a room with more than 50 plus carries or whatever. Like that would be absolutely insane. Obviously, like a lot to be answered. Bowl projections, rankings wise, the South Carolina, you know, game does hurt this week in the college football playoff rankings, coming in at 7th behind Ohio State and Alabama. Alabama, who we beat in Knoxville head to head 52-49, you know, with our full team, being ranked below Bama, you know, and them excusing that loss at Hendon Hooker. What was y'all's kind of takeaways after this week's rankings, kind of having any kind of hope? At this point, we know the playoff hopes are not alive, but when it comes to, you know, the best bowl game we want to play into and the news of Ohio State kind of tampering with that now after this week's rankings, what's kind of y'all's takeaway?
I mean, I'm not really that surprised that that they picked Alabama over us as far as the rankings go, putting them in that 6th spot. And I mean, at the end of the day, guys, I mean, I know we beat Bama, we beat LSU by 4 touchdowns, but man, that 31-point loss to or a 25-point loss, I guess, to South Carolina was, I mean, that was detrimental. I mean, like that was just like any momentum that we had, if any argument, because you can't, I mean, we're 22.5-point favorites in that game and we lost. I mean, it wasn't even close, you know? And so it's, you know, and when you look at from Bama's perspective, they only lost by 3 points to both LSU and Tennessee on the road, you know, a last-second field goal, and then also, you know, a game-winning overtime touchdown as well. So, I mean, I'm frustrated about it for sure. I understand the argument on both sides, but I kind of want to go back a little bit to Brandon was talking about the running back room. I just pulled out the stat this morning, guys, and I think both of you guys are going to be absolutely mind-blown about this, right? All right, so bear with me.
I'm ready.
So Jalen Wright finished the year with 786 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns, right? Jabari Small also finished this year 696 yards and 12 touchdowns. You guys want to know was the last time Tennessee had 2 running backs in the same season that had 10 touchdowns or more in a season?
It's in the 40s.
I had to go back all the way to 1951.
Dang it!
Right. And even then, you could actually make the argument that that's not even, you can't even use that year because Herky Payne, who was also quarterback for us during the glorious year of 1951. I mean, how could we forget? He rushed for 14 touchdowns, but he was also quarterback. So I've gone all the way back up to 1940. I can't find a stat line. So this might be the first time in school history where we had 2 running backs that rushed for 10 touchdowns or more in a season, which is insane considering that, we had, Tony Thompson, Jamal Wilson, Travis Henry and Travis Stevens all within one running back group, as well as Jabari Davis, and a couple, and, Cedric Houston. So I think it speaks volumes that, we always focus on with Heupel's, offense about his passing game and how we put up points. But man, the running game improvement the last year is so underrated and so underappreciated. I mean, it's honestly probably one of the most, in a way, probably one of the most disrespected things about Heupel's offense. It's been unbelievable.
Yeah, because we were averaging like 200 some yards rushing this year.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like people see the deep balls from Hooker, all those dimes. It's like, oh yeah, they're pass heavy. They spread you out. They throw the ball all over the field. I mean, do we? Yeah, but we also run the ball to your throat too. I mean, we'll run up the middle. We'll get screen plays. They're like extensions of the run game, but our RPOs look good too. And I mean, just as much as we like to pass, like yeah, we'll hit a string of like 5 or 7 pass plays in a row, but then we'll just hit there and just keep running it. And Vandy saw what happened when we like to run the ball. I mean, we have the ability to do it, and we still reel off big plays there. So I mean, running, passing, we're still putting up points. We're still putting up yards. I think we finished this season first in points, yards, and touchdowns. We had like 76 touchdowns.
And total offense, yeah.
Crazy. I mean, that's absolutely asinine. But just great offensive production. And I will say I was a little skeptical at first. I kind of thought that we might take a step back. I kind of thought that maybe we weren't going to be as good as we were hyped up, but then we were better than advertised. And even then, after being better than advertised, it still blew me away how we easily put up points on people, cut them up all the time. But, I mean, man, it was just crazy. Fun season to watch, but it's still not over, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. I think, early in the season we talked, saw Alex Golish and, like, all the offensive staff talk about how they've game planned all year to kind of make sure, like, those pass wrinkles from year one that people wouldn't be able to stop in year two. And we had some hell of a ball players, man. Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt, the running back room, like they are great players in themselves, but we got to also credit, having a competent staff in there offensively, freaking wizards that are going out there, Heupel obviously doing most of the play calling, but having Golish up there up top, Kelsey Pope being a way better addition than I thought he would be, all around, man, like this staff. And like, if you can just hold them together with the pieces they have now and that they're recruiting going into next year, like it's going to be something they can keep going forward with. That's going to speed up the process that, whenever, Heupel was hired, they're like, oh, this is a 5-year project. This is a 10-year project. They're going to give up on him. We're year 2, 10 and freaking 2. We barely improved on defense, if anything, and we increased our wins by, 3 or 4. So if you keep getting the competent talent you want in there, obviously, like guys like Jordan Matthews, Ricky Gibson, Sylvester Smith, John Slaughter on the edge, Shandavian Bradley, Caleb Herring, like, these are guys that are going to build into their roles, and now they're getting their guys in there. Like, man, like overall, the health of the program going forward is going to be something that is, going to be magical. They can, add on to this with another 10-2 or 9-3 season even next year, and then get that full step going. And right now, like going into recruiting portal wise, like this staff is on fire. And the biggest thing in college football today is keeping your staff. And I think we all kind of know when to have a hold of a breath going into this offseason with everything that's already happened already.
Yeah, I mean, I think the huge thing for Heupel, I mean, especially that's going to be detrimental for next year, is that we got to find a way to keep Golish. There's going to be a lot of schools out there, whether if it's Cincinnati or a couple others, they're going to be going after him. I mean, he's, one of the best offensive coordinators in, all of college football, so it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. But, man, it's weird. I got a gut feeling that he's still going to be our OC going into next season. And if he is, there's no reason, in my opinion, not to think that we'll at least go 9-3 next year. I mean, I really believe that. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that much of a fall off, as far as talent-wise going into next season.
Yeah, I think the biggest threat of leaving right now would be Alex Golish, just because of all the assistance awards he's won this year or is in the finalists for right now. Obviously the number one assistant in my opinion, but he's kind of, been involved kind of because his Ohio native of being in Ohio, Cincinnati, they opened their job. Luke Fickell left for Wisconsin. Right now that's between, Brian Hartline and Alex Golish. I truly think that Brian Hartline is their guy, and that Alex Golish might stay a year at Tennessee. And, let's think about, those two got relationships right now and recruiting as coaches, like, recruiting right now in a couple deep battles was Brian Hartline, going and being a head coach and not at Ohio State. Does that change something for a certain wide receiver named, Carnell Tate? Does he open up his recruitment and look, if Golish does stay at Tennessee on top of this year? I think so. I think the relationship is there, and if hardline bolts, Carnell's going to want to go to a prestigious school. Cincinnati's not going to be that. So we had to, retain our staff. Obviously, everyone deserves huge amounts of pay grades and, raises, even though last year they all got some. I think the more annual and, new thing to do in college football is to do that yearly. You got to take care of your guys, or they're going to get poached, like Hugh Freeze or Lane Kiffin almost did, Hugh Freeze being the new Auburn coach. Obviously a lot to shake up. And, we saw, the last week with everyone's names involved at certain searches, Fickle, Freeze, Dion, everything else. If you retain this staff going into next year, keep all the pieces here, that's how we're going to keep going, I think.
Hey, going back to bittersweet, though, like, I'm glad that the rest of the college football landscape is interested in coordinators, because that means they're doing something. That means they're doing well too. But also, keep your hands off. It's like a museum. You can look, but you can't touch. I mean, like, go away. Hopefully they keep Hartline in Ohio, because he's already there, and they just bring him over to Cincy. But Alex Golish has worked wonders for us. I know him and Hopper close, and I know they like co-write this whole offense. But like you said, Brando, continuity is so important in this game at this level. So, I mean, it would only work wonders for us going forward to keep them all together. And like you said, recruiting as well, building those relationships. If we see Golish leave, I'm sure there will be some kind of attrition to that class. But speaking of that class, and again, a testament to what Heupel's done, this is still just his first class coming in, is it not? Like, I feel like
last year was his real first class, but this year is like after like a dominant season, a program changing, shifting season. So.
Yeah, so I mean, just his second class, and it still takes years to build depth. So I mean, no matter how fast you rebuild with the talent that's there, you still have to build talent behind it. So I mean, he's got 2 full classes now. I mean, like we've been saying, and we repeat this at least 10 times a show, but like, future's bright, dog. Like this is incredible, the turnaround that we've had.
You kind of can consider his first real full class, just because like the fact that like it takes longer than just a year or 6 months to build a relationship that he had with the 2022 and 2023 class. Like this class, obviously he got this guy Nico, David Hobbs committing last week when we were off the show. Top 10 defensive lineman from Concord, North Carolina, going to be a huge blue chip piece for this defensive line going forward. It's looking brighter and brighter. The DBs we brought in, Jeremiah Thielander and Jalen Smith, that linebacker, a lot of help all around. And I guess you can kind of say it's his first real class. Already 2024 on fire. You're just going to see it increase, man. After this year, especially, a lot of 2023 guys, maybe late, we'll see going into signing day, who kind of has like a final peek through the door. But, all these guys before this season happened kind of had their thought of where they're going to go. Heupel's building these relationships with 2024 and 2025. And I think, top classes in the nation on top of what we're doing already NIL-wise is going to be a more common thing just with the new landscape of everything. Obviously, what matters is how you do it. We saw the rankings, Tennessee being a top team. That definitely helps. Finishing off strong, going to a bowl game, that definitely helps. Diving in to the bowl game projections, I guess the big, whole story after Tennessee got that win and LSU lost to A&M, last week, the whole big thing was like, oh my God, Tennessee's going to go to the Orange Bowl. I think almost everyone has us projected to the Orange Bowl right now to play Clemson. After last night's college football rankings and even live on the rankings committee show, Ohio State former alumni Kirk Herbstreit advocating for Penn State to get the Rose Bowl and Ohio State to go down to Miami and play in the Orange Bowl after all the projections already happened, just because they don't want to go to the same bowl, one of the most prestigious bowls in the Rose Bowl. Obviously, that would push Tennessee down to the Cotton Bowl projection against the best group of 5 team. Still would be a New Year's Six bowl, but would definitely affect the fan base, interest, and travel. Drew, it's an outrage, man. Once again, we're already getting fucked over our ranking, but our bowl game, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean it's a complete outrage. I mean, honestly, what is even the point of even having these college football playoff rankings if bowl committees are all of a sudden just getting to decide who they want to have in there? Like honestly, logically, if Ohio State says that we do not want to play in this bowl game, we would rather play in the Orange Bowl, then the next higher ranked up team available should take their spot. So like Tennessee theoretically should be taking their spot. Now they won't allow that because The Rose Bowl only wants to have a pathetic Big Ten, mediocre football team in there playing their prestigious bowl game. But it's very, very Tennessee, where we have our best season in almost 20 years, and we're getting completely screwed over and potentially playing freaking Tulane. So
there's some breaking news regarding the bowl games, actually.
All right, go for it.
According to Brett McMurphy, and it probably broke from someone else, the Rose Bowl, on their part, has actually signed an agreement with the College Football Playoff, which will allow the College Football Playoff to officially expand to 12 teams starting in 2024. So the 12-team playoff would be here. You tell that to me now when Tennessee's number 7th in the country, when half the bid is built in. You tell me after the playoff committee fucked me. And then on top of that, like, did y'all see the SEC and Greg Sankey's announcement saying that they would take the best 2 teams in the SEC going forward? Probably they're thinking about doing that and putting them in the conference championship. We would be playing Georgia and Atlanta. And then we would be in a college football playoff in a 12-team format. I just think it's kind of crazy, man.
Guys, settle down. This just means, though, that like if Tennessee finishes 9-3 or 10-2, in 2024, we're guaranteed in the playoffs. So this will actually work out great in our favor. And honestly, this is better for the game of college football. More football means better. And it's going to create way more exciting matchups. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, this will be blowouts. If anything this year is proven, outside of maybe Georgia, anywhere between 2 and 12 are, in my opinion, are relatively a fair, even playing field. So it's going to create a lot of matchups. And imagine, guys, a home playoff game in Neyland Stadium in December. It's going to be madness. It's going to be unbelievable.
Okay. I got a rebuttal to that. First off, I was a little pissed off. Apologize, sorry, but looking at that kind of point, like, what do they do in a 12-team playoff? Do they have certain locations where teams have to travel to week after week after week that are built-in games, or does the top seed get the home field advantage? Like, that's going to be interesting in itself.
So the way they would have it set up is that the top 4 seeds would have first-round buys. So the top 4, for this year, for instance, which would be Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC, they would all have first-round buys. So they wouldn't play until the final 8.
Week 2.
And all the other teams outside of the top 4, they'll play first round in games. So theoretically, because Tennessee is a 7 seed, we would play whoever's number 10 at the moment in Neyland Stadium. And then so forth.
Kansas State, it would be. I saw this picture today.
So we would play Kansas State in Neyland. So, that's how they would do it. And then after that – oh, yeah. And then after that, you would just have your New Year's 6 bowls fill in for the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the national championship. So,
okay, I rebuttal that, though, back with another negative take, right? Okay, yes, it would be really good for college football. Yes, we would love to be in every single year. But right now, people, the whole situation we're in right now in real life in this day and age is the fact that, non-playoff teams, they get the top 2 bowl games, and then the rest are picked by a different committee that's not even the playoff committee. It's just picked by bowl owners, right? When people don't make the top 12, won't that just make it worse with bowl games available for other teams not in the 12? Not even close to procedures. Like, are you even helping a program at that point? Like, is that kind of killing Division I football when the FCS already doesn't get their playoff and everything else? Because then they're going to be playing in the Sun Bowl or the gas station bowl or Dollar General Bowl. And
all right. As far as I'm aware of, there's no gas station bowl. Second of all, it's not really going to kill it because you already have that now. So if you're not playing in the college football playoff or a New Year's 6 bowl, a lot of people deem that as but that's
the Orange Bowl gives $100 million or something crazy.
A lot of those New Year's 6 bowls give out a fantastic payout. But
but that would mean if we went to 12 teams, that would mean that the Music City Bowl would be a playoff game, right?
No. So with the 12-team playoff, the New Year's 6 bowls, those will all be the quarterfinals, the semifinals games, and then the national championship.
Wait, so I could win a Sugar Bowl, I could win an Orange Bowl, a Fiesta Bowl, and a playoff.
Yes. Oh, yes. No, you can win multiple bowls. And that's the thing. And that will even still hold the prestigiousness of these bowl games too. Because at that point, it's like you're playing in the quarterfinals and potentially for a national championship. So that bowl game's going to be – it's actually going to give it more value than it does with the system already. Crazy. So it's actually a win-win for everyone. And honestly, if you can't make the top 12, into the playoff, then like you don't have any business even making any argument on trying to like, play for a national championship in the first place. So I think it's a great move for football. This is the only college sport out there. I mean, only division of college football where there's not a tournament to determine a national champion. I mean, all the other FCS does a Division II, Division III. I mean, especially March Madness for college basketball. This is the only one where we only have mysteriously just have bowl games for some reason. So I think it's great.
Question though. Do you think they stop at 12 or do you think they expand it to 16?
I think they might do like 4 or 5 years and see how it goes to see if they go backwards or forwards. But I feel like it's more harder in this day and age to go backwards after you already did something. I was going to say,
forward. Backwards. I don't think is doable. Once you give us something, we don't. Really
I think it would have to be a fan. I think a fan vote of college football actually might have to be into play via Twitter poll somewhere out there.
Why not, bro? It's mass voting. You get the public's opinion like instantly now. You might as well just ask.
I think like 12 teams is like the perfect number because you can get all the conference champions within the Power 5 conference. You have 5 at-large bids, whoever the top 5 ranking teams regardless. And then you can add 2 of the G5 teams, whether if it's like Tulane and UCF, on those automatic bid too. So it gives them value to win their conference, but it also allows teams like Ohio State or Alabama or Tennessee who may have lost a game or two in the regular season, but still have a good enough schedule and, head-to-head record, still be able to have an opportunity and play for a national championship. I think it's the best of both worlds. It's certainly better than the freaking format that we have now because every year there's like 2 fucking SEC teams in the playoffs. So
I think all of it is beautiful and quite great and dandy for college football. I think 12 teams is great. Like I think it actually is, generally a good thing. But we live in a day and age currently where obviously looking forward, we would be in there right now, but where the committee is, quoting like, people's wins and then placing us behind a team that we beat head to head and saying that one doesn't matter. Like LSU, I mean, Florida State came into their rankings ahead of them and they quoted their win over LSU in the first game of the season.
Yeah.
In the first game of the season. And they didn't, we beat LSU. We beat Vanderbilt by a larger margin with Joe Milton than Bryce Young and Bama did at home and Bryant Denny. We beat Bama. We have more top 10, 20, 25, whatever wins, more ranked wins. And their best win right now is, Mike Leach and the Pirate and Mississippi State team. And it just blows my mind. Who won the Egg Bowl because Lane Kiffin was flirting with Auburn the whole time.
Even as ridiculous as this committee is, and with the new future format of a 12-team playoff, Tennessee would still be in it. Tennessee would actually have a home game where they would play in a home environment in December. And quite honestly, if you really look at it, I believe like the next team that we would play after that would be like Alabama or even Ohio State. It would actually be very favorable for Tennessee. So let's don't get caught up into it. And like, let's not like excuse the fact that this is the best season that we've had in all of our lifetimes.
At least exactly I remember where I was taking this. That is exactly where I was taking it.
Let's just try to stay positive. This is great for us. So,
but also, sorry, I gotta say this, but like, okay, if you got the shit right in front of you, and you got your damn like finger on a playoff appearance, you can't let it go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the part that hurts me the most is like, yes, I agree with you, Drew. I promise I do. This was like one of the best, most fun seasons that we've had literally in our entire lives as Tennessee sports fans. Like, this has been incredible. Every Saturday, I literally would wake up so damn excited to watch them play just because I knew they were going to hang 50 on somebody. But like close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. If you there, you do this all this work for 10, 12, 11 weeks. I'm not even counting the off season that you put in, not counting the time that you sacrifice from your family, from your friends, giving up your body, all this time. Like, bro, if you there, just do the thing. Like, just win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't shake your head at me.
No. You need to listen. You need to listen.
No.
How do you think this fan base felt in the 90s, right? When we were going 10-2, 11-1 every single year. Do you really think they're like, oh, but we were so close? Like, this is a failure. No. They're like, we won 10 games. Like, can you imagine Do you know if you think it's bad now? If you think it's bad now, imagine how this fan base must have been in '96 when we lost to Memphis State.
I don't know why either of y'all are talking about us winning 10 games when I'm the only one that predicted 10 wins.
Annex Memphis from Tennessee. There, I covered that part. Now, I never said that this season was a failure. All I said was I was just disappointed that if we're so close, like why run this whole race just to trip at the end?
On August 19th,
frustration is fair.
I picked Tennessee to go 10-2. I think we can all agree that one of those two losses would not have been against South Carolina and Shane Beamer in our minds.
Of course.
Yes, we fell flat. Yes, we are the reason why we are not in the playoffs. It is our fault, all in all. But let's be fair. The committee has not shown us any help or given us any clout or, good looks in the chances we did have. Looking forward, we went 10-2 for the first time since 2003. Yeah, we can't get into a 12-team system now that I just called beautiful. We are living in the age of despair. But every single projection besides Action Network has us in the Orange Bowl against Dabo Swinney and Clemson, who was just mocking us about flipping burgers.
Should be
quickly retracted his statement after he took an L to South Carolina, the same South Carolina team we did. And, if Tennessee goes out there, goes to an Orange Bowl, I'd rather play in the Orange Bowl than the Sugar Bowl because the Sugar Bowl is on the day of the playoffs at noon. We'd be playing on a Friday night in primetime in Miami. Francis Malgo would see more oranges in Miami fans he's seen in his whole life. And it would I think that's going to be a beautiful way to cap off this season. Obviously, a much needed matchup. Everyone wants to see it. I truly think when it comes down to the Orange Bowl and they got to look there and pick, that they're not going to, take or look at, Ohio State and what they care about the Rose Bowl and how they went there last year. They're going to look at a team in Vol Nation who traveled down to Tampa and Jacksonville, Florida for 8-4, 7-5 teams and showed up 30K, 40K strong. We're going to go down to Miami. They're going to pick the big orange wave. And I just think that's going to be the most anticipated game of the year, Tennessee and Clemson. Finish that off, see what Joe Milton can do in a bowl game against a defense that's no joke in NFL talent, future NFL talent. Like, beautiful. Control, we can control. And that's that game if we get that game.
Yeah, no, I think it would be an unbelievable bowl game. Especially towards Dabo's comments. Just a good opportunity just for, as Brando said, Joe Milton to shine, play against, a very legit Clemson defense. And it'd be great for the program. I think it would speak volumes for Heupel, especially, to say like a year ago around this time we were playing Purdue in the Music City Bowl. And then like a year later, we're playing on Friday night on ESPN in Miami against, one of the best teams in the country. So I think it'd be exciting. It would be great for recruiting. Guys, even if we make the Cotton Bowl, it'd still be great for recruiting. But the Orange Bowl would just be different, though. So
the only way I will take a Cotton Bowl is if UCF pulls off the unthinkable, beats Tulane in the American, Association Conference, and goes to the Cotton Bowl in Texas. Tennessee versus UCF. Josh Heupel versus former team. Gus Bus. And, in his prime, I feel like everything that Vol Twitter went through when we hired Heupel just to be 10-2 2 years later would be like the biggest fuck you to UCF, man. That would be crazy. And I wouldn't mind going to Texas then. Obviously, I would prefer to go to Miami than Texas for that trip. But, you wouldn't have to go nowhere, motherfucker. I would just come and kick at your place. But, I think all in all, man, a New Year's Six Bowl, that brings me into my next thing. And, thinking 10-2, obviously 9-3, 8-4, the expectations. Being in a New Year's Six Bowl year two with a lot looking forward in recruiting. What was this season to y'all? Underachieved, overachieved, or what you expected? I'm going to say what I expected in a way, just because I predicted 10-2 and that this would be a resurgence kind of thing. Not how it would end it, but what I expected overall. Was this season underachieved, overachieved, or what you expected?
Overachieved. We defeated Florida. We ended the streak against Alabama, and not just beat Alabama, barely beat them. We hung 52 on them. We beat LSU on the road by 4 touchdowns in Death Valley. At one point, literally, even if it was for a half a second, we were the number 1 team in the country. That was a pipe dream to all of us. Not just 3 or 4 months ago. Our entire lives. That's something that we never thought we would ever see. So, to go 10-2, despite how terrible our defense was all year. The fact that we made that happen, and then see Hendon Hooker just have such a magical and unbelievable season, and Jalen Hyatt especially as well. I mean, it's been amazing. I mean, this has been a season that we've all been hoping for, and I think we can honestly finally say that like Tennessee's back to being a house name again.
Agreed. I'm gonna make one more comment about the bowl game. How poetic would it be for Battle of the Oranges in the Orange Bowl? The Tennessee Orange versus Clemson Orange in the Orange Bowl, and especially after we travel, like you said, Brando, to Jacksonville. But not only Jacksonville, but we also traveled to Tampa for the SEC tournament. We showed up big in that SEC championship game. So you put us in Florida, we'll come to Florida. We'll go wherever across this country. It really don't matter. And there's a certain somebody that already lives in Miami, so I mean, I would be perfectly okay with that. It would make travel a lot easier on me. That would be perfect. But and then again, especially after what Dabo said, the whole like flipping burgers comment, like you really can't write it no more poetic than that. Like just put us in a bowl game, call it the Orange Bowl, and then let's just.
I need Princeton Fant to make sure he plays in the bowl game, which I'm sure he will. Obviously, he's out of eligibility. I need us to play Clemson in that game, and I need him to, go part 2 of his "it's just business" thing, flipping a burger outside after that bowl game, man. Give it to me. I need it in my veins. Obviously, the matchup in general is just poetic. Just one, the flipping burgers comment, but this week after that, kind of being like, "Oh, I didn't mean it, man. I got so much love for Tennessee." Like that would kind of get me going. But man, like Orange Bowl in general, like you said, the nastiest combination of orange uniforms college football's probably ever seen. The Pantone's probably going to clear out, but we saw Josh Heupel with a cigar. We've seen him, be happy after multiple wins this season at home. Undefeated at home, by the way. Just to cap it off, what's going to cap it off better than Josh Heupel, getting that 11th win and having her biting into that orange and the Orange Bowl trophy? Like, bro, I just can see Josh Heupel, Hendon Hooker, and Joe Milton sitting there all together with Danny White, basking in oranges.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, let me get this. Let me get this question in. I forgot to answer your question. Under over what I expected, overachieved. I mean, it really is. Like watching Hooker at center was incredible. I mean, we really watched an all-time great quarterback performance, not only this season but last season as well. The last 2 seasons, this man's been on fire. Everything he touched turned to gold. I mean, he would make something out of nothing the same way Dobbs would. He could throw the deep ball. He could throw the short range. Yeah, he missed every now and then, and sometimes he'd frustrate you, but you'd forget about it by the next drive because he'd lead a 70-yard drive in 3 seconds. I mean, that was incredible. And then, like we said earlier in the preseason, we wanted Hyatt to step up. I doubt any of us expected a Bletnikoff finalist. Nobody expected him to lead in yards and touchdowns. Everybody's talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., and I agree that man will play on Sundays. I think he's an incredible talent. 0 drop passes this whole season. Even then, yards per catch, total yards, and touchdowns all go to Hyatt. He did more with less, like in every aspect. So like was he as consistent? Probably not, but I mean, like the dude still put up numbers. I don't know why like people are so quick to crown Marvin Harrison Jr. as the best receiver this year. It's not that quick. Like there's a very solid debate that Hyatt should even be like a Heisman finalist at one point. Like we were talking.
Oh yeah. So I mean, to kind of add on to that, Hendon Hooker, I think he's in there with the Davey O'Brien finalists are about to deal with that. He's 1 of 3 finalists for the Maximo Award for College Football Player of the Year. Jalen Hyatt, 1 of 3 finalists for the Wayne McKiff Award, like y'all said. Hyatt being the first ever Vol finalist for that award ever. Like, that's absolutely insane. Obviously, at his Heisman mention, like y'all said. Hooker, the first UT finalist since Peyton Manning won it in 1997, which would be a huge, huge honor for that. Obviously, Hendon Hooker got that Vanderbilt game taken away from him. You got to wonder if he did end up playing and finishing out the season, how he would have finished out on top. I feel like he definitely gets that invite to New York, no matter what, just with the 2 losses. But, everything on top of that, 175.51 in passing efficiency, second in the Power 5 for Hooker, 9.53 average yards per pass attempt, 32-2 touchdown to interception ratio, 89.5 QBR, number 2 in the nation. This man was just built different, man. 441 yards, total yards of offense against Alabama with 5 passing touchdowns in that, obviously historic game. 69.6% completion percentage, 4th in Power 5. Man, like this guy, he beat Alabama and LSU, Florida, obviously. Dude, like,
it's
insane.
it's in my opinion the best season a quarterback has ever had at Tennessee. I mean, I mean, you can talk about how great Peyton was. I mean, don't get me wrong, Peyton's probably the greatest player to ever come out of Tennessee for sure. But as far as the season goes, I mean, to beat Florida, to beat Alabama in the way he did, I mean, he drove us down the field, guys, with less than 15 seconds,
15 seconds.
and put in field goal position. I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. I mean,
Hooker, man.
There was no stopping it.
I mean, honestly, like I think a lot of people kind of forget, every Heisman winner has had their Heisman moment. I can't really think of one for Stetson Bennett. I could maybe think of one for Caleb Williams, against Notre Dame, maybe last week. But Hooker had his against Alabama.
CJ Stroud had
in Florida. He had multiple of them.
I mean, he had multiple. I mean, he had
LSU.
Florida, and LSU.
The
as
LSU
well.
bomb to high was the prettiest football I've ever seen thrown in my life.
Oh yeah.
CJ Stroud had a great Heisman moment against Michigan too.
Northwestern.
That got some
that means a fucking picks. It was beautiful. 23 points.
Fucking Big Ten
Crown
State. That's kind of sad.
I think regardless though, at the end of the day, I mean, a Heisman Award's great, but I don't think it doesn't speak volumes for someone that essentially changed the program. I mean, because that's exactly what Hendon Hooker did. I mean, he's completely changed the program. He's forever one of the top 5, if not one of the top 3 greatest Tennessee quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah, not even quarterbacks. I would back that up to players. I mean, the man was legendary. I can see it. The man was absolutely legendary.
I mean,
53-5, I think, touchdown to pick, something like that.
I think he had 61 touchdowns, and I want to say 5 interceptions his entire time in Tennessee, which is insane.
I'll say in my history books of what I've seen personally, it'll definitely go down as the number 1 in my duo book. Jalen Hyde and Hendon Hooker, just absolutely magical. Obviously 10-2, man.
And if anyone wants to try to make an argument that Marvin Harrison Jr. was better than Jalen Hyatt, which I agree with Alex, unbelievable player. I'm sure Harrison Jr. will be easily unreal in the NFL.
The only thing he has over Hyatt is a last name, man. That's it.
Dude, the only thing you need to really look for between those two guys, Hyatt had 207 yards and 5 touchdowns against Alabama. I mean, that's all you need. I mean, on 6 catches, too.
Literally 5 of them were touchdowns.
That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know when it comes to that guy. So,
no, I agree. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. Like literally watching our offense take the field every Saturday was a blessing. I remember I used to wake up on some Saturdays and be like, damn, we got a game today. I don't know how it's gonna go. But every Saturday, I really felt unstoppable. I felt unbeatable. I felt like we was gonna let them hang and we was gonna put it on our head. I mean, every time, literally every time.
I mean, yeah, man. I got to go out to every single home game this year besides UT Martin and witness a Vols W, being undefeated at home. Not only all the great moments, at the Kentucky, Missouri, especially the Missouri game with Drew, all the moments, everybody with ATV and the crew and just being around at the Spire tailgate before and the environment going into it, man. It's going to be something I'll never forget just in my lifetime. Tennessee going 10-2, obviously the Hendon and Hyatt duo, absolutely insane. But going forward next year, and I know what we're going to be talking about a lot on the show, is kind of building, keep building. And it becomes more than just a quarterback or a wide receiver. You have your offensive linemen in the trenches. You got your tight ends. You got your running backs. You got your linebackers, corners, safeties. We all know what Tennessee needs after kind of seeing this season. Yeah, it was great and historic. We won 10 games. But there's definitely a lot of holes and gaps to fix. Obviously, on the outgoing part, already 4 departures and that side. There's a lot of guys rumored to be staying. I know that's something, we're going to have to keep just diving into to keep getting a grasp of what's going to happen going forward. But what if I told you that, Tennessee in the portal wise, we lost to Jimmy Callaway and Jimmy Holiday. We lost Justin Williams, Thomas, and Laneith Whitehead. But, hey, we're rumored that, guys like Darnell Wright, Jacob Warren, and Jalen Hyatt are coming back next year. If that happens, I just think that kind of shows the health of the program to be able to get those guys back. And, what you're getting out is guys that haven't done too much necessarily. And the teams at Tennessee and players at Tennessee are currently interested right now that are hopping into the portal. The portal dates to be able to talk to teams open up December 4th. But it sounds like the visits coming to Tennessee from portal players is going to be at a high that we haven't seen and we definitely didn't see last year with all the restrictions against Tennessee. Obviously, Kyle Morlock, the tight end from Division II Shorter University, that's a guy heavily looking at coming to Tennessee and trying to get a visit down. That would be a huge addition to the tight end room after losing, Princeton fan after the bowl game. Definitely need to upgrade that. Just all around, man. Dominic Lovett, the number 3 overall wide receiver from Missouri. Sounds like Tennessee's swinging hard there. A lot of NIL might be involved there. We're just going to do like a wait and see approach of what he's feeling, making his final decision, what's going to matter most coming into an offense like this. We're getting that bigger check from a school like Miami or somewhere else. That one's, we saw what happened last year, how different the portal can be from your regular recruiting. Obviously, Tennessee has a few more prospects in the 2023 class. They landed David Hobbs, still swinging at in-state 4-star linebacker Arian Carter, going to be here this weekend. Still swinging at, maybe another wide receiver. Does Brian Hartline bolt for Cincinnati? Does Cardinal Tate, want to get another option? He was wanting to come get a visit earlier this season. Ohio State told him no. If Hartline leaves, I definitely think you see him, take another look. That would be an absolutely insane one. And then keeping guys, finishing this class off, Ricky Gibson, Sylvester Smith, being from Alabama in the Auburn area. Obviously, Hugh Freeze is going to be making a lot of phone calls. Those guys are expected to be early enrollees here in December. We have to make sure we get them to that finish line and get them to sign that NIL paper, NLI, and, get them into the bowl practices. Expected 15 guys from this 2023 class to be early involved, going into bowl practices, getting those 15 practices. You saw how key that was for guys like, Taven, Tyree West, a bunch of guys offensively, defensively, Dylan Sampson, just to see what's going to build. Obviously, it's going to be a building, recruiting, transfer portal-wise. You're going to have to convince players, and I think you've done enough on the field, but we're going to talk about it for weeks and weeks, man. Tennessee, can they continue going into 2023? I think we get this bowl game win. That gives us a good bowl.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, if you can cap it off with a bowl win and have 11 wins this year, the most wins that we've probably had in a regular season since I could think maybe 2001. I think it would speak absolute volumes for Josh Heupel and this coaching staff especially. And I mean, we're already turning heads in the recruiting trail, and then just solidify our status with an Orange Bowl or a New Year's Six Bowl win. That's going to be huge, especially in the portal. So. It's exciting times, man. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, so it's going to be fun few years for football. That's for sure.
Quite literally true. We have not seen anything like this before. The fact that statement is not hyperbole or just dramatics, and is like actual truth. It blows my mind still to say, but I mean, like we said, all in all. Yeah, again, still disappointing the South Carolina stuff. But, I mean, man, like we really had a blast. This shit was so much fun. Yeah, Brando going on a roller coaster over there.
I should have fucked I kicked my fucking computer, man. I was like, holy shit.
But no, I mean, man. Like this truly was like one of the funnest seasons, and capping it off with a bowl win and keeping that recruit momentum going. That would work wonders, especially with that new 12 playoff team system coming. I mean, we got to get ready for that. Got to at least secure a spot there, because we don't have any reason to not make a 12 team field. You know what I'm saying? Understandable, because at least 2 conference champs are going to be in there, and then some other people. But yeah, 12 teams, no excuses. And then once you get there, I mean, getting there is half the battle. Then you just got to show up after that. But I mean, anything can happen once you turn it into a tournament.
I mean, 2024 is going to be Nico's sophomore year. That should be the expectation every year to make the playoff. Now,
we're going to the playoffs.
Obviously winning the national championship would be amazing, but at least try to get yourself there first. And then, like you said, I mean, it's just like any other tournament. You just never know what's going to happen, once you're in it. So just give yourself that shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the final episode this year, recapping regular season football. I'm sure we'll dig into it like at a later date with Woe as a full team and stuff. But man, like 10-2, like y'all said, all the ups and downs. We did get caught lacking, like we said. We feared at that live show, we're like we might get caught lacking one game. Damn it, it was Shane Beamer and the fucking Gamecocks.
What a square.
One team we didn't want to have it to. But, man, I'm not going to let it ruin my season. I'm not going to let Ohio State try to buy their way into the Orange Bowl. I'm not going to let that piss me off either, man. We're going to a New Year's Six Bowl. I truly think it's going to be the Orange Bowl. And if we can cap it off with beating Dabo Swinney, or hell, if we even do go to the Cotton Bowl and beat UCF in the Gus Bus, either way, I think it's a poetic sequence, finish off strong. I think the bowl game matters more in portal-wise than it does in high school recruiting. Just, if they've seen that big state before at their former schools. But, man, like, at Tennessee, I know I mentioned a few names that are involved within the portal, but let's just say, obviously, don't want to, put names out there that haven't entered, but Tennessee, I think they're going to fill their needs, just to say the least, of what I'm kind of hearing around, if you know what I'm saying. So expect these guys leaving Tennessee's, bringing in studs, guys that can play, talent to be brought in on a football team at SEC level. And I think they took advantage of it last year with the little that they could do. They're going to get a full portal season this year, bringing their 2023 class. And I know he's been here for 2 years, but next year is going to be like a brand new, filling out new car, upgrading your vehicle kind of feeling for Josh Heupel at Tennessee, even after he went 10-2. And he just can't fall flat on his face like Lane did this year at Ole Miss. Like, you got to keep going forward. I think everything is there to go forward. By the time we play in our bowl game, whether it's the Cotton or Orange Bowl, Tennessee will be in basketball play, in SEC basketball play. So, a lot to look forward to on the Vols ATB side of things. Historic, football run. Can Tennessee reach the Final Four? A lot to look forward to. It's going to be chaos, man. I think college football offseason is more chaotic than the play-by-play, just playing a football game every Saturday in the regular season. So I'm excited to see what happens. Any final comments from my boys before we close this one out?
Yeah, no, I mean, just once again, it's been such a fun football season. I mean, my God, like, just completely blown away expectations. I mean, this bowl game's going to be great. Fingers crossed it's an Orange Bowl matchup with Clemson. Even if it is a Cotton Bowl against Tulane or UCF, like, the fact that we're even in a New Year's Six Bowl is just, I mean, it's exciting. And it's only going to get better, guys. So,
hey, I'm just chomping at the bit that we get in that Orange Bowl, because I kind of felt shafted this year with the inability to attend games as much. I was fortunate enough to come up for the Florida game, but other than that, I really haven't been able to go. So, I mean, again, talking poetic with us meeting Clemson, especially after all that's gone down. I mean,
me crashing at your place for a few
days.
days.
I came down here, and the Vols come down here. All I've been wanting is for everybody to come down here, experience the 305. So, I mean, it would be fantastic to have my boys down here, have Low down here, have all of Vol Nation down here to celebrate. Well, I mean, what a great season it's been. And then also to kick Dabo Swinney in the hind end. So, I mean, you can't really ride it no better than that. But, no, I'd love to see y'all down here, down south.
Nah, yeah, I've definitely been looking at the prices just in case to see what Ron Cat's going to have to pay, if he does cover the fees. And I'm glad that for his sake that, I would not have to spend money on an Airbnb and just crash, maybe at the Alex location.
Jones household, yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So obviously Orange Bowl, hell of a ride, a hell of a finish, going forward. A lot to unpack in the coming weeks. I'm sure we'll be here every Wednesday still going forward. Basketball's in sync. Man, it's just been crazy. Let's see how it plays out after this conference championship weekend. Hopefully the Vols, get down there in Miami. But, man, bringing in a lot of portal stuff, a lot of basketball news, and it's just going to be a crazy few months of the offseason, man. This is where it comes out, and I can't wait to, even get started with Tony Vitello and the boys. So,
oh, yeah, sure.
But until next Wednesday, I guess it's going to be the Vols ATB crew signing off here. Good night, and go Vols.
Good night,
go Vols.